right, and welcome. This is The Guys Next Door, brought to you by Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing. I'm your host, Ron Arenas, with my co-host, Pastor John McLean.
Yes, sir. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man.
We're back.
We're doing it.
They let us in the building.
They let us come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought...
That's an accomplishment right there.
Yeah. We thought that, like, no, there's no way they're going to let us do this show more than a year.
I think they just forgot.
That's it. Don't say anything.
Okay, I won't.
Yeah, just keep on sneaking in the back door like we've been doing.
Yep.
Very good. So, speaking of New Year's, I want to actually, we're going to wrap around and tell an old story.
Oh,
because
okay. That's good because we're old guys.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. Some of us older than others.
Maybe,
but,
yeah.
No, you don't need to brag. But so we have two gentlemen on the show today,
all right.
just like usual. Like
That's
this
good because it is The Guys Next Door.
This is The Guys Next Door, and we have a habit of having prominent men on this show.
You got it. Yep.
And we're going to start, as we should, with the more seniored men, the first segment.
Okay.
And we're going to go with an up-and-coming prominent young man, a graduate of the U of A, the second segment.
All right. That sounds good.
Both friends of mine, may I say. Because usually we got friends of yours.
Yeah.
And you're usually like outdoing me, showing me that you got cooler friends that are more prominent than me, which I don't appreciate. But let me try to match you today.
It's your turn today.
You showed me a Jack. I'm going to show you a King of Hearts, my friend. Here.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm not going to say his name just yet because I'm guessing anybody listening that's been around Tucson for a couple decades in or around the art world, you've definitely heard his name. I know this to be true because anybody that's in or around the art world that I say his short name, they correct me and say his long name. So I start with this guy. He's certainly been a pillar in my life. Because I've known him I knew him back when I first got into the radio business.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so
that was a while ago.
It was a couple minutes ago.
Yeah.
It was a couple minutes. Nearly 15 years back when, when I was wearing a suit and dressing up fancy before, and he's seen me transition from that to being, one step away from a stick and a handkerchief, wearing,
right.
homeless clothes, being very dirty, going through a lot of stuff, traveling around the United States, getting arrested, filing lawsuits, doing all this kind of this wild, funky stuff. And he was very, actually, sadly to say, integral and supportive in the work that I did. And a lot of that stuff, I probably wouldn't have had the courage or had the know-how to even put together if it wasn't for him having my back or him giving me guidance on some of that stuff. But the funny thing is that isn't even what we're going to be speaking about today, because when I met him as a radio show host, he was working with an organization teaching kids how to make art, pretty much an after-school program or a summer program or like an extended program for kids around art. And one of the main functions that program did is it made murals and made mosaics, made kind of large-scale art, and taught kids how to do that. And as kind of a, what I would call the swan song project of this organization was the Downtown Mural Project, which was, I believe it was, he'll correct me, but I believe it was 5 main murals that were being done at one time downtown. And from that, dozens, maybe even hundreds of murals have come from that. Mm-hmm. So I say all that to say, don't just take my word for it. Hear it from Mr. Michael B. Schwartz with MBS Arts. Thank you, brother, for joining us in studio.
Thanks, you guys. Yeah, I feel like
intro.
The guy next door.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. You are.
It's scary to think how much time's gone by. It was, and it's true. We were Arts Brigade, Tucson Arts Brigade. The mural program was founded in 1995, and murals have a long history in Tucson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as I'm writing a book on the topic, and as I'm doing the research, I find that some of the earliest participatory murals were done in the school system in the early part of last century. Right?
Okay. Wow.
Before we were even a state. And so Tucson has a natural affinity, kind of the murals are part of Tucson. Tucson's part of the mural movement. Mm-hmm. It's always been there. And in the 1960s, of course, there was the Chicano mural movement, very important. David Teneo being one of the most well-known names with hundreds of murals, amazing artist. And from in the 60s, what began to happen is through the 70s and 80s, people started to associate the murals of the 60s with social change, but also with some negative associations. And as the murals started to fade in the 80s and 90s, there was less interest. In not only in producing the murals, but in maintaining them, and the funds available started to disappear. Interest changed, and the association with murals. Let's just say that not everybody really resonated with what murals stood for or what they could be, and it took us quite a lot of time to demonstrate, to show like, hey, this is what's possible. And from 1995 to 2015, a long stretch of time there, we demonstrated this is what's possible when we bring neighborhoods together to talk, to decide what they would like to see in a mural, and then collectively producing it. We did community paint days. We did oral history projects. Getting the kids involved in knowing who their neighbors are, who the guy next door is, and
so that's always important.
It is important to know who they are. It's one of the biggest things that came out of the mural program, that the kids and the elders, we did a lot of intergenerational work, was getting to know your neighbors. Getting to know the elders, getting to know the history of the area, and no longer feeling like a stranger, feeling a sense of ownership to place, which means that you're going to look out for place, which means you're going to pick up the trash, which means you're going to take care of the elders down the street who might need a chore done, etc. And infusing those values. So it was more than just a mural movement. It was also this neighborhood organizing, trash cleanups, all sorts of different types of things that we did. We opened a literacy center at one point, the after-school programs. And so that whole period of time, from the murals we did at 29th and Columbus, the Barrio Central, Miracle Manor, Old Pascua, Amphi, all of them were demonstrating this is what the potential is. Now, the brick wall, of course, we ran into a brick wall, which I like that metaphor, right? And the brick wall was that the policy of the city of Tucson, Policy 7, did not perceive murals as a form of public art. And so there was this on city property, you didn't see any murals. And pushing that through in that first round of murals in 2016, that was huge. We went out and looked for walls. Nobody wanted a mural. Nobody wanted one. And we had to hunt. We shopped and shopped, tried to convince these wall owners. They're like, yeah, I don't know, man.
So was it public and private that you're looking at?
Yeah, public and private. And it was a mix of public and private dollars. And the dollars we used were all private.
Okay.
So that the city didn't put up dollars.
Okay. It wasn't in their budget.
Right. They subcontracted me after they got a grant from the TO Nation. And had me collaborate with them to manage this program, which involved going through and looking at Policy 7 and making the argument that murals could be a form of public art. That meant I had to go through and deliver text sheets on each of the colors. Each step of the process, it took years.
Wow.
I had to call chemists at Nova Colors to make sure that the colors were accurate and the chemicals used, etc. I mean, every barrier put up possible.
Well, I feel like we can. There's 4 segments of history lesson here, but we about have a minute and a half left. Let's wrap around to kind of like, you are, the greatest authority in art that I know, whether it's through your schooling or through your practice. Kind of speak to that and like where you are now with your art and how people can get involved with your art now.
Well, Michael B. Schwartz is my webpage, michaelbschwartz.com. And just to end up the history lesson part of it, obviously it worked, right? We pushed through, it worked, and artists can now get gigs doing murals. And there are about 250, 300 murals that have been created since 2019, which is amazing.
Wow. That is.
Artists
That's a short
from
time.
all walks of life. Yeah, it just exploded and become a source of revenue for the city. And that's a huge issue also. We're bringing in millions of dollars. My own work, what I'm doing, I collaborate all over the place. I'm working on a collaboration with Ruby Farias. That's Farias, Ruby Farias, designs.com. And we'll be doing a project up in Phoenix revolving around the theme of Prism at the Biltmore. in March. So that's one of the big projects we're working on. So I love doing collaborations. You can check out my webpage at michaelbschwartz.com and commission me to do work. If you're an aspiring muralist, contact me. And I'd love to share my work and what I do. So please contact me.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. I want to say my oldest friend, not by age, not to brag. I have older friends, but thank you for coming in here, brother.
Yeah,
Michael B. Schwartz. Go to mbsarts.com.
MichaelBschwartz.com.
Even better. Awesome.
mbsarts@gmail.com.
All right, perfect. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Piper Family Painting, Steamy Concepts, Tucson Pack and Ship, Tucson Tamale, and Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Yeah, absolutely. And also go to commongoodtucson.com to find out more about the show and the work that we're doing to help connect homeless veterans with housing. Catch you right after the break.
All right, and we are back with the guys next door. Man, that was a fun segment.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It was like a history lesson /
Yeah.
like coffee with a friend. So.
Yeah. I didn't get to mention it on air, but we just had a mural ride in December, and we rode around downtown and on our bikes, of course, and saw probably 20 of those murals.
Do you have a favorite?
No, not necessarily. We're supposed to do another mural ride and see even more of them. We're a little bit limited on time because we were going to have our Christmas party. So
yeah, like I was telling you during the break, I talk to him almost every day, but I had no idea that there's been nearly 300 murals that have been created
just
since
in 5 years.
2019. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, which I mean, I've much like he's been there with my journey and helping the homeless and kind of reshaping some of the laws and the infrastructure around helping the homeless in Tucson. That's been me with him around art and murals in Tucson. So it's been cool watching his journey and his growth around that over the years, just like it has, I'm sure, for him with me, which we didn't get a chance to talk to too much. He just had so much good stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we'll just have to have him back.
Yeah, for sure. But that was great. But we have another amazing guest. Like I set up at the beginning of last segment. This is the show, The Guys Next Door. Not just any guys next door, the prominent young men and the young and old men that live next door to you.
The multi-generational.
Yeah, multi-generational individuals that live next door to you that are doing some amazing things that you may not even realize.
Exactly.
And definitely this next young man, because we had a seasoned gentleman the first segment. This is a young man in our community that's a mover and shaker, already doing some amazing stuff. A Tucson, almost it seems like a Tucson boy through and through, like yourself, Ron. Who is just is really I got the good fortune of meeting at the Arizona Sands Club, and it seems like ever since I first met him, not even that long ago, he's already grown and accomplished so much with his organization and what he does. But like I always say, don't let me ruin it for you. Why don't you go ahead and hear it from him? His name is Caden Cribbs, and he is with Brightview Window Cleaning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. It really doesn't mean the world. You guys run a great show here, so I like to always tune in, listen up. So
thank you.
It's been a pleasure, really. But yeah, so my name is Caden Cribbs. I own Brightview Window Cleaning. I'm 22 years old, and so some of you might say like, oh my gosh, that's way too young. But to be frank, it drives us even further just to make a difference on the community. Not only can we see it just from my eyes, kind of growing up here also too, but seeing all the friends and family kind of also grow up there too. So Brightview Window Cleaning, we've been around now since April, so coming up on a year, which is huge. We actually just reached our 400th residential home already.
Wow.
So we're making sure that we're keeping everybody satisfied. With that, we just reached, I think it was today, we got a 206th review, and every single one of them has been a 5-star. And so why is we simply care about making sure that you get what you pay for. And so after the job, our guys are always trained to walk around the house with you to make sure that you're satisfied with the job before we ever expect or see any kind of payment. So we use something too that I was talking to last time with Mr. John over here, that we use something called deionized water. And so what that is it actually coats your window with kind of a protective film, if you will, that's all natural. And so that actually repels any kind of dust and rainwater. And it almost sounds just like a repetitive thing right now. But we're actually so confident in this. We give you an entire month of free touch-ups after we get the job done.
Wow.
So, but yeah, our customers love us. We have a 96.7 customer retention percentage right now. So everyone that we've gone through and has used us has loved us so far. If you have ever stayed at any of the Hiltons here in Tucson or Arizona, we actually service all of their buildings, including a lot of Scottsdale locations in Sedona. And then we actually clean about 6 and working on the 7th building of U of A. So you could say that we've been moving up and moving great, which is awesome. So shout out to all of the employees, Mr. Lewis, Fernando, Dakota, and Jess. You guys are the reason why we've been so successful. So I can sit up here and talk about how great, the company is, but it always starts and ends with employees. So.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, they represent you, and it sounds like they represent you really well.
Absolutely.
So with this being the new year and you almost being a year old for your business, do you have any special offers?
Yeah, so we are actually running in the month of January a $50 off exclusive access to $50 off for a lifetime discount. So you're getting $50 off of your window cleaning, this cleaning, and any other cleaning that you do with us throughout the entire year. So people are saving $50, which for a window cleaning is a huge percentage. Some people are looking at 25 to even 50% off their window cleaning, which is huge.
Yeah, that is huge.
Man, isn't it interesting speaking with Caden?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me it's twofold. When I first sat down with him, which I've been blessed to get to sit down and have lunch with him a couple times, I told him he reminded me of a younger version of myself.
Okay.
Just because when I was his age, almost exactly, I just got back from Iraq and I became a pool and landscape contractor.
Right.
And like it's brilliant actually hearing him, because as much as I'd like to give myself credit and say he reminds me of a younger version of myself, I think he's even brighter, kind of sharper version of myself, because just as he just explained, what Brightview window cleaning is about right now, that was super succinct. And that was super and it sounded. I asked you if he reminds you of a younger version of yourself, because a lot of stuff that he says, it sounded like you.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I remember when I was 22. That was a long time ago.
No, just the way that you speak about like your employees.
Well, the customer service and the employees. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to create a really good team and a really good culture.
Yeah,
and if you don't have that, then you're not going to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like you said, it's the culture that we bring, know. And so I was just talking to actually my fiance, and we're really kind of narrowing down on the interview process to really just get the greatest guys and the girls. And we always base it off the 3 F's that we have that we were talking about last time, which is faith is our number 1. We always look to guidance through God, and he's always guiding us in the right direction. And family is such a huge thing. So that's our 2nd F, is family. We always like to say you have to have a relationship with either your blood family or your chosen family. And so a lot of the times we meet people that are kind of in a stage of life where they're almost lost, and they don't have connections with their blood family, but they have a chosen family that they have a relationship for. So we always like to say, if you can show us the type of attitude and the type of dedication, then when you go home, it needs to be even 10 times or 100 times more, because those are the people that really do count, And so they're showing awesome respect to the customers in their homes, and then when they get home, they're the dad or the mom that their kids really need. And the last one is fitness, and a lot of people laugh at that. They're like, what do you mean that's a requirement? But in reality, it's such a big thing as a business owner to be able to rely on your guys to be physically fit, or the women that are on your team to be physically fit, because when you're working all day, it starts to become actually either a hassle or something that you have to worry about if they can't actually keep up. So let's say if we're getting tired early on the job and we're dropping ladders or anything, that becomes not only dangerous for them, but maybe for the customers too. So we also require that kind of, and so the way that we did that, we actually just, and Mr. John, I was actually just going to tell you this, is we just built a gym in the entirety of our garage dedicated for the employees.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And so at 7 in the morning, every morning we go on a mile run, get back and work out with the team to start the day off right. And I can't tell you how much of a positive impact it's helped on not only their personal lives back home, like we get their wives or husbands calling us like, man, that's a different person, you know, coming home, which is awesome to hear. And it gives me chills really just talking about it.
Well, they feel better.
Yeah,
Once
they
you start
feel better.
exercising
Absolutely.
and eating better and you have a better attitude, you
Yeah.
feel better. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a completely different version. And I always like to, you know, the whole January 1st comes around and everybody seems to have a plan, and, you know, that sometimes lasts only a week. But if you are listening, yeah, absolutely. Fitness has been, I think, everybody asks me, what propels your business far ahead? And then really just the 3 F's, you know,
Yeah.
faith, family, and fitness. So
That's
That's
fantastic. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then we got probably about a minute till we have to jump out of here. So, one, how can people get a hold of you, utilize your services? And 2, what's something that you want them to know that we haven't covered yet?
let's see. So contact, again, my name is Caden Cribbs. I am the owner. You can reach me and the business at 520-703-5824, or check us out on Google, just brightviewwindowsllc.com. And then something is, we just appreciate Tucson, everyone that we've ever met. Mr. John here. And what was your name again?
Ron.
Ron. Yeah, that's right. So has given nothing but support to us. And so we really appreciate you guys and having us on the radio.
Yeah. I mean, and I kind of just to say again, like Caden and, you know, his fiance, I've got the good fortune of meeting her as well. They're you know, really sharp people. I yet to utilize your Windows services, but it's definitely coming. And just following you on Instagram and Facebook and kind of seeing your stuff, the machine you have is really super cool. It's
That's
almost
the
worth,
DNS,
seems
yeah.
like it's like worth the price of admission just seeing you using that thing. So one last time, how people can get a hold of you if they want to use your services.
Yep. So again, either call me is the best way, is 520-703-5824. Like Ron said, is Facebook's a great thing, just Brightview Window Cleaning. And then on Google, brightviewwindowsllc.com. So again, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, it was a
absolutely.
pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ron.
We would like to thank our sponsors, Piper Family Painting, Steamy Concepts, Tucson Pack and Ship, Tucson Tamale, and Picture Rocks Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all for listening. Go to YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, as long as it still exists. And we will catch you next week. Also, go to veteranrescuemission.org and commongoodtucson.com to find out about the work that we're doing to help connect homeless veterans with housing. And if you're a veteran out there that needs help in any way, just give us a call, 520-329-9192. We'll be right back. Or we'll see you next week. I don't know. I just work here.